Tim, when John Mara sounds off on Odell Beckham Jr., you've played for this organization. You know this organization extremely well. He usually says nothing.
Correct.
Okay, and normally by saying nothing, his silence is deafening. So when you hear him weigh in voluntarily on what's going on with Odell Beckham, what was your takeaway?
I think that Odell's standing with the team is on shaky ground at best. I mean, I think that's, kind of, where it stands. John Mara is always so measured, because even when he does speak, it just seems to be this calm, he never, it's never comments, at least in my experience, that you think, wow, I can't believe the guy just said that. I can't believe that's what they're talking about. And so, when I hear this, I think here's this player who undoubtedly is one of the best receivers in the game. And you have, the owner talking about how he's sick and tired of answering questions about him. I think Odell probably has not handled things the way that the organization would like him to handle things, whether it has to do with his contract, whether it's, behavior off the field, whether it's behavior on the field. And I think that usually is your quickest ticket to get you shown the door.
So that being said, if you were running the Giants, would you pay this guy? Would you pay Odell right now?
Well, I think the hard part about paying him is that if you think back to, some of the comments that certain players have made. Remember Richard Sherman was going on talking about, there's almost like max deals in the NBA. It shouldn't be about quarterbacks are the highest paid guys. It's about guys that are game changers getting paid the most. If Odell Beckham is kind of pulling a Chris Johnson a little bit where it's like, hey, no, I want to be paid like an elite offensive player. Look at Kirk Cousins' deal. I'm a better football player than Kirk Cousins. I want to be in that type of neighborhood. Then no, there's no way, and there's no way you ever do something like that.
Agreed. I agree with that.
But that might be, kind of what he's searching for.
Okay, so
there's a delusion, a little bit of delusion, I think, with some of these guys in terms of what they're worth.
Let me put it another way, because while I don't like some of the Odell's antics, especially on the field when it cost your team, be it 15 yards or a game or two, he has done nothing off the field that's cost him time. Now, this latest video he was in wasn't the greatest thing in the world by any stretch, but he hasn't done anything off the field that's cost him time. You may shake your head at some of it, but it hasn't cost him time. He has proven he is one of the top wide receivers in the game. So if he right now came to you and said, I just want to be the highest paid receiver, who is it? Who's making what, 17, 18 mil a year? Mm-hmm. So he's up in that area there.
Yeah, I think you absolutely consider it if you trust him, if you feel like he won't be disruptive. Look, it's a little bit like T.O. T.O. never really was never like real bad off the field stuff. It was more like, wow, man, how did it fit? And
locker room stuff.
Some guys loved him,
field,
other guys didn't. So it was a different type of, I don't know what you want to, distractions, kind of the buzzword for that type of thing. At times in T.O.'s career, was he worth it? 100% he was worth it. But he also bounced around from team to team for a reason. He was dominant as well. So I guess I would look at it and say, if I felt like my coaching staff could manage him, handle him, and he wouldn't be disruptive, be more of a positive influence in the locker room and on the field and to the energy of the team, then 100% I would do it. That's Julio Jones to me.
Okay, I think, in my opinion, you have to pay him if you're going to pay him knowing exactly who he is right now, and not say, I'm going to pay you only if I think you're going to be different. Well, so you have to accept who he is, hope he may change, but you have to say, this is kind of like Antonio Brown. What do we start hearing about, man, in the locker room, about him a little bit? Yeah. They paid him. They gave him that transition deal and then gave him the big deal as well. So if you're going, I agree you'd love Odell not to be that little bit of a distraction that he can be. But if you pay him, you have to know that still may be a possibility.
What do we always say about people? Whatever they are before they get the money just becomes amplified. So you're right. If you're looking for him to change when he gets paid, that's probably the one thing that's absolutely not going to happen, because whatever you are before you get money, you're just going to be more of that when you get the money. Tim Hasselbeck, our NFL analyst, and fake Ryan Russillo this morning with us here on Golic and Wingo.
It's amazing you don't have a suit on, right?
You look great. I love it. Hair. More importantly, Tim, not what you would do. What do you think the Giants are going to do? Because Odell is making it pretty clear what his line in the sand is. I don't want to play until I get a new contract. So you have John Mara saying things that he rarely ever says, going out there and volunteering this stuff about a player, And then you have Odell's stance, which is, yeah, I'm not setting on the field or putting on a pad or even putting on a piece of tape until I get a contract extension.
I think ultimately what happens is if he's looking for top wide receiver money, okay, if he's just looking for top wide receiver money, not, changing the game in terms of how wide receivers or skill position players on offense are paid, then I think the Giants pay him. I think he remains a Giant. I think he ultimately is helpful to the team, and they're better off for it. I mean, that's ultimately what I think happens. But that's probably because I'm coming at it with the perspective that I think Odell is smart enough that the Giants are a great spot for him. He's got a good rapport with their starting quarterback, and he's got a great chance to succeed there, especially in a new offense. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, thinking that I think he sees it that way.
Real quickly, just so people understand the market you're talking about, if it's just the top wide receiver money, Antonio Brown is that guy at $17 million. 3 other guys are at 16 plus: Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, and Sammy Watkins, of all people.
But in all seriousness, so you look at that. Is he worth? Yeah,
he
like
is.
what
it's a no-brainer.
Like if that's where the market is going for the best receivers in the game, then there's no question.
But when he says something beyond that,
well, if he starts saying highest paid overall, then I'm with you. That's.
But remember, that's kind of how it went down with Chris Johnson in Tennessee, where it was like, no, I'm an elite offensive player, so it's not just what these running backs are making. I get moved around and used differently, and. Odell can say, hey, well, look, I do things differently than other guys. And you heard there's a group of players that don't like the fact that the quarterbacks are the highest paid guys.
Understandable.
And what I would say is go learn how to throw.
Listen, I agree. That's just the way it is right now. Le'Veon Bell is trying to say I'm more than just a running back.
Correct.
Jimmy Graham was trying to say I'm not a tight end, even though it says it in my bio. Yeah. I'm
Although,
really.
To his credit, he did line up as a wide receiver more than he actually did as an end-line tight
But
end.
ultimately, how did those guys end up getting paid?
They paid by their position.
By their position.
And that's how it's going to be in this one as well with Beckham, I believe. All right.